Hi, this is Bob Papa, voice of the New York Football Giants, and this is the Big Blue UK and Ireland podcast.
Welcome back, Giants fans, to the latest edition of the Big Blue UK and Ireland podcast. As always, proudly in association with Andy's Man Club. Lads, remember, it's okay to talk. Tonight, we are 75% British, 25% Irish, but as always, we are 100% Giants. No, but not quite yet. Shane's going to join us shortly to make it a second full house in as many weeks as we take a look back at our third and final preseason game against the Jets. Plus, we'll round out the show tonight giving you our predictions for the season, which if you're watching live, we'd love you to get involved with them as well. So that's going to be a little bit of fun to end the evening, lads. Last pod of the preseason.
How are we feeling? I know. Ready to go. I mean, all the preseason work's done. All the roster and tinkering is still going to go on slightly, but we are down to our 53-man roster, practice squad, and we are ever closer to that week one game where we will be up in Birmingham watching it.
Yeah, it's been a long off season, and I just feel like I just want to take a moment and just appreciate everything we've done this year. Like, this off season has probably been the biggest off season we've ever had, and that's a massive part because of the listeners and the watchers. But if you think about the amount of work we have all put in as well, we did a 6-hour draft live stream. We had the draft Bible. We've done the preseason interview series. We've done Giant Awards. Like, everything that we've done through this preseason is mental. We've done so much, and we just hope that the fans and the listeners and the viewers really appreciate like how much work the preseason actually is, and the fact that we don't get any time off from this. This is full go.
Yeah, I mean, I talk about it at work all the time, and I say, like, I'm finishing my full-time job and I'm going home to my second full-time job, because that essentially is a second full-time job. But yeah, the just because the season's over doesn't mean we stop. I think we had a 2-week break in the middle of the off season because there was nothing going on anyway. But apart from that, we've been on the go for the since February the 1st, or since the end of whenever the Super Bowl was, to where we are now. And obviously we're now a week away. Literally kickoff weekend starts a week today, obviously with Kansas City and whoever it is, can't remember. It's not important. We don't care. But it's you say it's been a long off season, but God, has it flown by quickly?
Yeah, it has, and it's the reason why it's flown by quickly is because, like Craig said, we've been so busy just doing stuff. Like, even though some of us might not be on the pod sometimes, we're still in the background, sort of giving tips, giving advice, giving sort of like our thoughts and stuff like that. But also, I mean, like, you'd be remiss not to give a massive shout out to this man, Craig. Like, producer extraordinary, just the absolute godfather of the pod, the GM, just the absolute glue that keeps everything together. And the content, we wouldn't have the content if it wasn't for you in the background, kind of like, putting it all together, asking us for ideas or asking us for our thoughts on things, and really driving everything we're doing. So, I mean, I have to tip my cap to you, brother, because this wouldn't be as good or as fun if it wasn't for you kind of being the glue that holds everything together.
I appreciate that. It's
get that big fat cigar out, mate.
Next week I'll be in a swimming pool with a cigar. Yeah.
On FaceTime.
Yeah, man. But no, it's been a great off season. It's been a lot of fun, and we've had loads of fun between us. And obviously the draft night extravaganza was obviously a highlight. The preseason series, the mini series that we've done, has been another highlight. And we've had some amazing guests on there so far. There's still more to come as well. But it's overall it's been a great 8 months, 7 months. Yeah, 8 months pretty much. So now the off season is over. The preseason is over. It's done. It's in the books, and we've only got one thing to look forward to, and that's the 2024 regular season, which kicks off next weekend. And if you're coming along to Birmingham next weekend to the Box Brindley Place in Birmingham, along with the full 10 yards guys, it's our first meetup of the season. Come along, see for your favourite Giants podcasters, and have a good night with us, and hopefully watching a win to start off the season. Because let's face it, we need to start off the season strongly. Mega looking forward to it. Should be a great night, and as it'll be great to see some fellow Giants fans there. Even if there is only a small group of us at the end of the day, it'll be great to watch Giants football together.
And that's what it's about. Like, that's why we kind of got together, like, to do this podcast, because we love the Giants. We love Giants football. It's our team. But I've said it many times in the podcast in the past. Like, nothing beats watching it with your boys, watching it with other Giants fans together. Like, again, I'll go back to the meetup we had last year against the Commanders. Like, to win that game and celebrate a score together instead of being on a screen or instead of being sat at home watching it on your sofa on your own, like. That joy of like being together, watching football, watching winning football. I mean, nothing beats it. So I'm so looking forward to next Sunday. Roll on the season.
I just hope it's topped off with a win.
Yeah,
really.
That'd be class. 6 o'clock game as well. Like, so
exactly
perfect time for an evening.
And if people are wondering, are there going to be more meetups this year? Just wait until after the Vikings game. Let's let that settle. Let that bed in. And yes, there will be another meetup this year.
Yeah, just wait. There might be some news on that coming in a couple of weeks. You'll hear it here first. Coming up later on as well, we'll break down the Giants 53-man roster as it currently stands at 8:37 on Thursday, the 29th of August, 2024. There may be some changes as we're on live this evening. So if there is, we'll bring you the latest. And we'll also take a look at our practice squad as well, with some names on there who were unlucky, I felt, to miss out on the active roster itself. So, yeah, we'll bring you that later on. In a change to our usual way of doing things, though, this evening, we are going to start off by taking a quick look back at the final preseason game against the Jets on Saturday. In what was a wholly forgettable game, the Jets came out with a win in a excitingly enthralling 10-6 win. Over to our offensive gurus, Kev and Craig, for the breakdown.
Yeah, it was a really, really rough showing. It was a tough watch. I don't know about anybody else. I'm kind of glad I did the game in 40 than sitting through that on the night, because Jesus. Outside of a few flashes on offense, and it was flashes from mostly players who aren't actually even on the team anymore. It wasn't great. The backup offensive line looked really weak, like really, really weak, as the Jets' defensive front had an 8-sack feast. Not all of them can be attributed to the line. We've got to give 2 of them to Tommy DeVito's insistence on holding onto the ball too long, something that he hasn't seemed to have pushed out of his system during his training camp. He does seem to be making decisions quicker, but still holds onto the ball way, way too long. 5 players giving up sacks, though, Azudu being attributed for 2 of them at left tackle. It's just not encouraging, to be honest, knowing full well that we have an improved offensive line, but it's the backups that maybe we're still worried about, and rightly so. But like I said, not a memorable showing, but over to Kev for what I'm calling Kev's notes, Kev's musings. So, yeah, take it away, mate.
Yeah, just some of the thoughts. I mean, just go through sort of the position groups, just like little nuggets that I've sort of been thinking about. Like the quarterback position, like Tommy DeVito. I mean, you can kind of see why he's third string. Like you said, like holding on to the ball far too long. Yes, he's making decisions quicker, but he won't develop into a starting quarterback in this league. I think everyone can see that. He's just got to go out and apply himself, and maybe he can become like a half decent sort of like backup in the league. But like, he didn't really he made a couple of decent runs and stuff. But like, I think like the first word I put down was meh. Like, it was just didn't like set you light at all, But then go on to the running back, Dante Miller, Turbo Miller. He put in a decent shift. He looked good. He had 14 carries, 45 yards. I felt like he was a little bit unlucky to miss out on the 53. I know we'll get onto that in a little bit, but glad to have him back on the practice squad. I think we always knew that the 3 running backs were going to be the 3 running backs, which is fair enough. I know. And then the wide receiver, I mean, McKenzie had a couple of decent catches. Shima picked up a bit of an injury. Boykin had a couple of catches, one really nice one for a third down, for a first down conversion on 3rd and long. And then obviously, if we're going to talk about the wide receivers, things of note, that John Giles hurdle where he, there's a little bit of a play action from Tommy DeVito and he dumped it off to him and he had a nice little highlight reel, but you can't make a living off just one play like that, in the NFL. Not much to say about tight ends either. Nothing really stood out there. But the offensive line, you kind of touched on it before, and that was the biggest question going into the season. Have we fixed the offensive line? Can we fix the offensive line? We brought in a brand new coach who we're all very, very pleased about. John Michael Schmitz and Neil played a lot because they needed a lot of snaps. Them picking up niggly injuries doesn't really help. But they definitely needed snaps and needed repetitions and needed to be out there. Neil, I thought, looked really good in the run game. I thought in the run game he excelled and was actually looking good. I mean, he was okay in the pass game. His pass pro was decent-ish, was okay, but he gave up a highlight sack, and as soon as something like that happens, everyone's going to jump on it. I think he could be a decent guard in this league. I don't know why they don't sort of explore that, but I know Brian Dable said in his presser, was it yesterday or the day before? He's a right guard, he's a right tackle. We're keeping him a right tackle, and I just don't know whether they're sort of like bite their nose off to spite their face in a way. He said he got too many guards, but I think to get the best out of him, we might need to look at that. But we'll see go down the line. I mean, I think the Jets' backup D line bullied the Giants' O line a wee bit. The backup players, but they had some really good players. That Taylor the third. They had Tack McKinley, who's trying to make a comeback in the league. Former first round pick. They had another edge as well. I can't remember his name. But who I thought played really, really well. So what does that say? That tells us their backup line, D line, is better than our backup O line. But I kind of just want to make sure our starting O line is good and healthy. That's what I really, really care about. And I'd be remiss if I didn't give a shout out to my boy Jake Kubas. Undrafted rookie free agent. He's come in. He's put his head to the ground, just plowed on, solid play. And he's, as we've been rewarded now, been making the 53-man roster. So that's really, really good to see. And he's the type of player to come in. Like I said, many podcasts before, just come in, lunch pail guy, does the dirty work, really, really good player. I thought he should have been drafted after I watched him a bit more after we picked him up. But I was really pleased with that. So how much can you really take away from these type of reps in the last preseason game, which is a little bit of a dead rubber? I don't know, but like I said, some good things, some not so good things. But I think sort of like the joint practices, ones-on-ones, is where really the Giants and Jets will get their benefit from this week. The game, not so much, but the one-on-one practices during the week is where they will benefit for the season.
Yeah, absolutely. And we talk about the O line and stuff like that, but one player that you didn't sort of mention in there, unfortunately, he's gone to IR today. He broke his leg after being rolled up in practice yesterday. But Schlottman didn't impress me at all. And I think you put in your notes between us two that you can see why Van Roten was given centre snaps, and I think that's it's pretty much spot on, isn't it? And now we're looking at a team where we don't, as a thing where we don't actually have a backup centre now, like a dedicated backup centre, because he's gone. We've got one on the practice squad, and obviously we'll cover through that shortly. But there is always that there. Earlier today, we released my sit-down interview with Pat Leonard, and in that, about 14 minutes in, I actually got a chance to ask him about the Evan Neal situation and why they haven't moved him to guard. And considering this is an NFL beat writer, not just for the Giants, he mainly covers the Giants beat, but does NFL across the board. He's shocked that they haven't even explored it and why they haven't. So, well worth listening to his answer on there. But you're right, there is literally like almost nobody else that we could talk about here. It was that lackluster. But I do want to just give a shout out to Joshua Kelly, who I thought came in and was really, really good. Like, I would be quite happy to have him on the practice squad if we had an additional spot there. 40 yards on 8 attempts, and he would have had a touchdown if it wasn't for a pass being batted down, because DeVito saw him and threw the ball. and Kelly was wide open. Like he could have moonwalked into the end zone. He was that wide open. And I think that just would have been like a crowning achievement for him just to get that little passing touchdown right at the end. Ran hard as well, really hard.
Yeah.
So, it wouldn't surprise me if he ends up on a roster somewhere.
Yeah, with Josh Kelly as well. He was, wasn't he back up to
Eckler
in LA? So he's proven in the league and that he can do the job, I suppose. But yeah, obviously with the Schlottman injury is unfortunate. I don't know how long he's going to be out for, but with obviously a broken leg, it's not looking good for him. But obviously with I know Van Roten's taken snaps at centre before if needs be as well, so there's always him to slot in there if needs be. But yeah, not having a designated sort of backup centre at the moment is a maybe a little bit of a worry with JMS not being fully fit.
Yeah, I think the way they're looking at it is that Van Roten will go into if something happens to JMS, which I don't want to say probably will, but there's a likelihood that could happen because he hasn't been healthy his entire career so far. But they want Van Roten to go in there, and Stinney would come in at guard because I think they believe that would give them more sort of better play across the O-line than bringing in someone like Jimmy Morris, say, into center. If they move Van Roten over to center, bring in Stinney, who is, being a capable starter in this league, that would give him a better sort of offensive line going forward. And then obviously Morrissey then would be escalated from the practice squad up to being the backup center then, should anything happen to Van Roten. So I can't understand the way they've played it, but it's not ideal though, is it?
No, it's not. I mean, I don't think we ever expected anything from the second string and third string offense in the preseason. I'm a little bit disappointed we didn't see more of the ones. But at the same time, I kind of understand. Tim Wood says Evan Neal could be the new Eric Flowers. Don't say that. He moved to guard when he went elsewhere and played okay. If he moves to guard with us and plays okay with us, then I'm happy with that. But I don't want him moving to another team and doing well. Tim also asked, do the Giants treat preseason the right way? Not like other teams. I think it leaves us unprepared. Do we treat preseason the right way? Do you think? What is the right way to treat preseason?
I don't think any team treats preseason the right way anymore. There was an article that came out on The Athletic, I think it was today, where they spoke to a load of agents and they asked them a myriad of questions about, quarterbacks and GMs. And one of the questions was around health and safety and was around the preseason. And it pretty much speaks volumes when all the agents are kind of saying, well, why don't we just scrap preseason and just do joint practices? If they want 18 games, let's not have a preseason, because I think we get more out of joint practices than anything. I'm not going to reveal who tomorrow's interview is with, tomorrow night's interview, but I had a really good conversation with them about preseason and how much they hate preseason as a fan, and that it's useless. Like they genuinely detest it. You can hear it in his voice. And that joint practices just give us so much more benefit.
Definitely, and it's not a moneymaker because they don't sell a lot of tickets, and the tickets only go for like $20, or they're not overly expensive. They can't get good TV revenue really for them, so it can't really be a moneymaker. And I think it's more beneficial, like you said, like having the joint practices, going one-on-one in a more controlled environment than a preseason game.
A lot of people was pointing towards Jerry Jones and what he said around preseason games, in the fact of, okay, it's a cheap way for fans who maybe can't get tickets to regular season games to be able to watch their team. In that case, just do joint practices inside the stadium.
Yeah.
Sell tickets to joint practices and put them in the stadium. You're still seeing it.
You're giving away for free.
Yeah, you're still seeing first team offense versus first team defense and first team defense versus first team offense. And from the top, you're probably getting a good vantage point. And
also, you're seeing starters go against starters. Whereas, what benefit did taking a family to a game at the weekend really give anyone? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, apart from seeing the backups and the threes fighting it out for a roster spot, which we could see them fighting out for a roster spot in joint practice. Evening, Shane.
How are you doing, gents? Right. Sorry for running late.
Well, good, mate. How you doing?
Yeah, not too bad, thanks.
Good. Steve said they'd be surprised how many tickets would sell for joint practice inside the stadium in a good way. I think they would sell, even if you sold them for $5-10 a piece. I think they would sell pretty well. There's always there's always demand for the free tickets that the Get Giants give away to training camp and watching the practices there. So I think they would go down pretty well, and having 50,000 people inside the stadium watching a joint practice will be a lot better than having 20,000 people inside the stadium watching a meaningless, pointless preseason game. So that's just my opinion anyway. But yeah, what is the right way to treat preseason? Every team treats it differently, I suppose. You're finalising your roster. You're looking for those that can make the cut and those that aren't going to make the cut. And realistically, you can see that in practice and the effort they give in practice anyway. So yeah, should preseason be scrapped? It's a relevant question. It's a good question. Anyway, now that Shane's here, let's move on to defense, shall we? Overall, in a game, defensively, in a game where we didn't really see any of the first team defense at all, they didn't overall didn't have a bad game. I didn't think it wasn't great, but it wasn't a bad game either. We held the Jets to 10 points, albeit after they missed 2 field goals, but still 10 points is 10 points. Coverage on deep passes over 20 yards was pretty decent. Only allowed 1 reception longer than 20 yards. Again, coming up against the third string quarterback, you don't expect them to be launching a bomb 30, 40, 50 yards down the field. And the one catch that did go for over 20 yards was debatable, and the Jets challenged it and they overturned it, which was originally given as an incomplete pass. And the pressure I thought we put on the quarterback was decent. We didn't get the quarterback hits. We didn't get the sacks that it may look like, to see like the pressure was really good, but we had a lot of hurries and a decent amount of pressure on that quarterback to make him into run out of the pocket and make a quick throw, or scramble downfield, or and the pressure up front looked fairly good, I thought. But they're the positives. Let's look at the other side of the ball. Without sounding like a broken record, poor run defense. For whatever reason, we didn't seem to be able to stop the run when we needed to. And they just kept, I think their conversion on third downs was 8 out of 17, which, is only just over 50%, but they're extending the drive time after time after time. And also tackling. Missed tackles. I think 14 missed tackles in the game. It just wasn't good enough. And there's 2 players that are no longer on the roster that were the main culprits for those missed tackles, and that was Darren Beavers and Darnay Holmes. They both had shockers, and I'm in no way surprised that they are not on this roster anymore, because for love nor money, they just couldn't. Big play Darnay just couldn't tackle for his fucking life.
Shocking.
I know. So I'm not surprised that they're not on the roster anymore, because they were awful in tackling. We gave up 288 yards in total to the Jets' second and third string offense, which is not great. Which let's not beat around the bush. It's shit. We shouldn't be giving up almost 300 yards of offense against this offense. That, let's face it, they're not great. Third downs, like I said, they converted 8 of 17. So they just extended the drives when they need to, and we couldn't convert that good pressure into those sort of offensive stalling sacks that we needed to. So they always got the opportunity to sort of extend the drive. We did stop on the 1 4th down, which was positive, but overall, I think could do better. Was the sort of overall feeling from this backup defense. And there were some standout players, and unfortunately, 2 of the players that did stand out, to me personally, and I think to you as well, Shane, are now on the practice squad rather than on the active roster. So, they didn't quite do enough to get on the active roster, but they did sort of do themselves justice and did potentially put themselves in the shop window. But yeah, Shane, who stood out?
Yeah, so the players that are kind of noted for standing out, one of them is Tamon Fox, who I feel like he's one of these pre-season standout players every year. Like he always seems to have a pretty good pre-season, to be fair to him. Defensive grade of 79.9 with 6 pressures, 1 sack, 2 QB hits, 3 hurries, 3 tackles. His run D grade wasn't great, 66.3, but kind of, as Dan's alluded to, the run D wasn't great, especially after in the first 2 preseason games, it's not looked too shabby. So, it definitely took a step back this week. But his pass rush grade, his tackling and pass rush were both in the mid-70s as well. Another player who, I don't know, maybe it's a bit of a surprise. I want to say that he didn't make the roster. That was KJ Cloyd, kind of a bit of a tackling machine. He had 11 tackles, 2 assisted. He only had the 1 missed tackle, and he was targeted 7 times and did allow 4 receptions. And then the other one, excuse me, was Benton Whitley. 4 pressures, 2 sacks, 1 quarterback hit, 1 hurry, 1 tackle, and 1 assisted tackle. The players there that maybe could have had a fair point of making the roster, and kind of I feel like I've been on about linebackers every single week, and it's not my intention, although I love linebackers, but it's that position that I feel he's like really underlooked on the roster, and it's players like KJ Cloyd that have been making a play, and Darian Beavers who wasn't making plays, and I just think the depth at linebacker is a little bit kind of worrying. I'm at the point now where I feel like, excuse me, I feel like Bobby Okereke is the most important player on that D, because if we lost him, the players that are behind are shocking. If we lost a Dexter Lawrence, for instance, we're going to feel it, but you've still got D-line pressure in the likes of Thibodeau and Burns, so you're not going to become over-reliant on him. But if Bobby was to miss any time for whatever reason, I pray to God that he genuinely doesn't, then, I think we're going to get shown massively in that linebacker core.
Yeah, and a lot of the receptions we give up were across the middle, sort of between the defensive line and in that area between defensive line and linebackers. So, it was kind of a little bit frustrating to see that sort of the linebacker play wasn't great, but these 3 guys, they could have all easily made the roster. I thought, but obviously, yeah, we do look a little bit lean when it comes to our linebackers. We'll go through the roster in a bit, but I think Benton Whitley making the roster is great for him, and he's looked really good in the preseason. I think he's proven himself, and he played himself into that roster spot. But the other 2, Tamon Fox, no doubt he'll be elevated from the practice squad at some point. And Cloyd as well. I was disappointed he didn't make the roster, because I thought he's had a stellar preseason, and I thought he really deserved a place on it. But there we go. They've made the decision, and it is what it is. We've got to live with it. But I think overall, I know it's only pre-season, but the guys are out there sort of fighting for either the spots on our roster or putting themselves in the shop window for other teams. But there just seemed to be, especially in this last game against the Jets, just a bit of a lack of aggression. There wasn't that sort of like get up and go and just like fight for your spot on the roster. It was almost a case of, we'll go 80%, but we don't want to go 100% just in case we get injured. And maybe that was in the back of their mind. They didn't want to get injured and completely rule themselves out. I don't know, but it just didn't seem like there was, across all 3 of the preseason games, it didn't seem there was that aggression that we want to see. Apart from Detroit, which, because they're up against Detroit, obviously they pushed us around last year. But yeah, like a lot of the passes like we gave up against the Jets, like I said, were over the middle. The DBs were in sort of soft press zone, and it just allowed the Jets to make plays and to move the chains and to extend drives, and they ran out the eventual winners. I think as we go into the regular season, I think we need to see more of the positives that we've seen from this defense, obviously. But we've seen too many, not negatives, but sort of things that need improving. I think we just need to see more aggression from this defensive unit, which, in all honesty, I expect to see it against Minnesota next week, because it's the regular season. It counts. It matters. After that game, we're either going to be 1-0, 0-1, or 0-1-0, which I hope we're not. Well, no, 0-1, isn't it? If you tie, it'll be on the end. But yeah, defense overall, I think could do better across the preseason, but hasn't been horrendous.
I think it would be safe to say, with the way that our cornerback room is and our safety room, that I would personally be prepared to get used to bend don't break football.
Yeah, 100%.
Like,
I can see that coming.
I wouldn't expect crazy pressure, like crazy aggression, especially from the backfield. I think it will be a case of, look, if we give up a big play, that's fine, but let's tighten it up when it comes to the red zone. And
Yeah,
Shane Bowen, red zone defense, very, very good.
exactly. And I wouldn't be surprised if we do give up big chunk plays. But then when it comes to the red zone, and we tighten it up. But at the same time, I do want to just see almost like just that a little bit of aggression. I don't want to say them to go fucking gung ho and go mad, but just to see like a little bit extra than what we have seen over the last 3 weeks.
So when we were talking about preseason games, Holty brought up a really good point. How do the second and third stringers prove themselves and challenge for roster spots if they don't play games? Because it's very true.
I mean,
I know you're still going up against third stringers and second stringers in practice, but you do have to get these players used to a live crowd as well.
Yeah, true. Very true.
And
It's a good question.
And then Tim said Kansas played starters in each of their games, to which Steve said they don't have half a roster made of Weetabix, which is
That's very true. Very true. Nice point, Steve. But I mean, did Kansas City have the winning formula? Yes. Should everybody take note of what they're doing? Maybe. Does anybody care what Kansas City do in the preseason? I don't think any four of us care what they're doing in the preseason, but yeah, maybe we could take a lesson out of their book. Maybe we could sort of look at what they're doing and see what is successful. But at the end of the day, Dave's is Dave's. He does things how he wants to do things. And so far in his 2 years, he's not been too bad. So we can't knock him too much. And let's not forget, it's the preseason. Nobody really cares.
That's the thing. Everything's so vanilla, isn't it? Like the offense is vanilla, the defense is vanilla. You're literally going out and playing like glorified 7-on-7 with some linemen, really, sometimes. So it's a little bit difficult. I mean, you just have to hope that if there was no preseason games, that more emphasis would be put on one-on-ones. I mean, on more joint practices and stuff like that. Because you would think that you still have joint practices, you have more of them, so you'd have to sort of evaluate that way. I think teams kind of hate preseason. They just want to get through them injury-free and not give away their plays for the regular season.
And then obviously, the more joint practices we get, we have the under-over at 75 fights every preseason per team.
Come on. There you go. Exactly that. I mean, preseason games, no preseason games. I'm sure whatever happened, they would work it out if they did decide to scrap it. Craig, anything to note on special teams?
Apart
from Sante's.
What a shit start to the whole game. Like literally opening kickoff for Sante. He takes it and he takes it all the way to the 42. Like he's taking it to midfield, probably one of the biggest plays we've had on special teams across the whole preseason. And then his awareness again is just not there, and he fumbles the ball, and the Jets get the ball straight away. So yeah, speaking of awareness, shout out to Isaiah McKenzie for having absolutely cat-like reflexes and awareness when the ball hit Ford Wheaton on the foot after his punt.
Yeah.
And then shout out to McKenzie for also having the awareness to pick up his own punt that he muffed later on in the game. So, 2 fumble recoveries from McKenzie there, one caused by himself. Shout out to Jude. Jude hit both his field goals in the game, 42-yarder and a 23-yarder, scoring the only points the Giants scored in this game. So, yeah. And then the Scottish Hammer. I mean, man, he hit a couple of bombs in that game. Like, talk about giving your gunners some time to get down the field. Like, I swear the camera was pointing up at the sky for about a good 10 seconds, waiting for a couple of them to come down. So,
he's starting to find his feet as a punter in the NFL, isn't he?
Big time. big time. And the hang time on those punts, yeah, like you said, were really, really good. I think he's definitely improving year on year for sure.
One MY Cursor, I haven't seen. It must be a new follower, so thanks for tuning in. But give away players for the regular season is the most pathetic excuse uttered by teams. It really is, isn't it?
It's just it's like a trope, isn't it? It's like, oh my god, it's unbelievable. Yeah. Because teams are going to like have film on you from week one.
Yeah.
You're not going to hide things in week one. You need to get up. We need to get off to a winning start. So we're going to throw the kitchen sink at the Vikings come next Sunday.
So before we kind of move on to the roster then, and Shane, I'll go to you first. Are you concerned that we only scored 30 total points across 3 games in the preseason, including not being able to score a single passing touchdown?
Yeah and no. Like, no, because it's preseason. Like, whatever. Like, I really could not give a toss if we lost all 3 games. I have no interest in a record, but you want to kind of see something. And let's be honest, what we saw from the starters, that Daniel Jones didn't look good. I'd rather have the first team started a few series on Saturday against the Jets, because they only had that drive against the Texans. They were okay, that game against the Texans. They were okay, they played longer than the Texans' first teamers did. But I think if it was me, if I'm Dable, I'm saying, okay, Jones didn't start very well against the Texans. He looked like he shook off some of the rust and looked a little bit better as it went on against the Texans. But let's just try and keep that train going a little bit. Let's just put, I'm not saying he had to stay out there for like a whole half, or even like, a whole quarter. Like, just play the first 2 or 3 drives. Let's just see how we look. Just shake off that rust again. And let's not be around the bush. This is an offense that's struggled to score points for several seasons now. You see teams putting up 35, 40 points a game. And here's also every Tuesday or Wednesday going, yes, we got into the 20s this week. Like, I don't want to get excited about scoring 21 points. I want to get excited about going, oh yeah, man, we put up 40 burger on someone. You know what I mean? Like, we smashed the out of them. We went, so it is a little bit of a concern, yeah. But there's going to be no kind of excuses come week 1 and for the rest of the season. I don't want to hear excuses from there on. 40 million quarterback, the O-line's looking good, you've got him a weapon, he's got consistency, it's his 3rd year now with this head coach or OC, etc. So there's no excuses now this season. If this offense doesn't perform, we'll get onto it in more in the off season. But there is no excuses this season.
Kev?
Yeah, I mean, it's not great, is it? Let's be honest, it's not great. But in preseason, I kind of want to see more of. I want to see, like, it doesn't have to be a full game plan. I'd like to see a bit of dink and dunk and stuff. Moving the ball, getting the chains moving. And with the odd bomb as well. You want to get the arm going. You want to get the arm wind up and throw things down the field. But like, I just want to see us moving the ball regularly and getting first downs and being methodical. And if we get up to the red zone then and we're stumbling to score points, we have to kick points. Or we go for it in 4th down, which you find a lot of as well. You find a lot of teams going for it in 4th down in the red zone to practice that sort of 4th down plays and stuff. So is it frustrating? Yes. Is it a big deal? Not really. But we're so close to real football now, and that's how this team has to be judged, is when we take the field next Sunday against the Vikings.
You think, Dan?
I mean, I'm not overly concerned, but at the same time, Daniel Jones has now played a quarter and a half of football in the last 8 and a bit months, and he's going to be under center next weekend against the Vikings when it really counts. So he's going to be rusty, and so it's almost like, why didn't we drop him in for a series in the first game, and then for the first half in the second game, and then maybe the first quarter against the Jets, just to get rid of that rust and blow the cobwebs out and whatever you want to say, just to sort of give him that feel of actually being back in the game a little bit more, even if it is with a second string offense apart from him, or those that are coming back from serious injuries, give them a little bit of sort of a few more additional plays or a couple of extra drives or whatever it is, just to sort of give them that a little bit extra going into the regular season, rather than going in and having 1.5 quarters worth of football across 3 games in the last 8 months, and then all be expected to be ready to go come week 1 next week. So I maybe would have liked to see a little bit more from some of the first string guys that are coming back from injury, especially Daniel Jones. But overall, not overly concerned, but Dabes need to really sort of assert himself as that play caller on offense really, really quickly. He doesn't need to necessarily be too aggressive in his play calling against the Vikings, but we need to make a statement, and we need a statement win, because this is he obviously played cool plays in his first season. Maybe he obviously made the decision to go for 2 against Tennessee, but last year obviously we saw the lowest scoring offense we've seen in a long, long time. So we need to see a little bit more aggression, and he needs to make that statement come the start of the season next week. So overall, not hugely concerned, but it would be nice to see a bit more. There we go. All right. That's the game done and dusted. That's the preseason in the books. Happy days. Let's move on to real football. We are going to breeze through the news quickly before we get on with our predictions. The major talking point over the last 48 hours has obviously been the announcement of the initial 53-man roster for the 2024 season, which there were some surprises. Craig, who didn't make it?
Yeah, let's talk about the players that kind of made the practice squad or didn't, shall we say, and were waived or terminated or put on IR. Or it seems like there's like 50 different things that you can allocate a player to now. Like, seriously, trying to keep up. Let's go through the practice squad now. So running back Dante Miller, wide receiver Isaiah Hodgins, wide receiver Miles Boykin, tight end Lawrence Cager, offensive lineman Joshua Miles, Marcellus Johnson, Jimmy Morrissey, defensive lineman Elijah Garcia, who I believe came from the Broncos, defensive lineman Casey Rogers, Timon Fox, inside linebacker Ty Summers, who came from the Lions, KJ Cloyd, who's also a linebacker, defensive back Alex Johnson, who's now back working as a cornerback apparently for the practice squad. Couple of new cornerbacks in Duke Shelley, who came from the Vikings, and Art Green, who we've picked up from the Broncos. Safety Raheem Lane, and then kicker Jude McTamanay, who has obviously got the international exemption there. So just a quick note on those new players. So Shelley, Green, Garcia, and Summers are all new additions to the practice squad. Shelley was drafted in round 6 by the Bears and has had stints with the Vikings, Raiders, Rams, and Vikings again. Summers was drafted in round 7 by Green Bay and has spent time with the Saints, Jags, and Lions. I think he was drafted back in 2019. Green was undrafted in 2023 and was on the Broncos practice squad. And then Garcia was also undrafted, but in 2022, he was signed by the Rams then. And then last season was also spent some time with the Broncos. So we've taken 2 of them. The players that have been waived or terminated that are now no longer with the Giants. On Sunday, we got rid of Kyler Bowl, Breon Borders, Clayton Isbell, John Giles, Joshua Kelly, Trey Kaiser, Lorenzo Lingard, Marcus McKethan, and Ira Sante. And then on Tuesday, on Cutdown Day, we got rid of Darian Beavers, Jack Stoll, who ended up going back to Philly's practice squad, Trey Herndon. Big play Darnay is no longer a New York Giant. He is now with the Raiders. David Long Jr. and then Alan Robinson, who has been signed to the Lions practice squad. We had a couple of players waived injured, Mario Goodrick, Jalen Mayfield, and Ovi Agufu. And then Isaiah McKenzie was put on IR prior to the cut, and Matthew Adams is on IR, designated to return. There are a few other players on IR, but after whizzing through that very quickly, I'm going to hand over to Dan so he can do those ones.
Nice, thanks, mate. Not surprised that big play Darnay's gone to Las Vegas, seeing as Patrick Graham is the defensive coordinator there. Good luck. Yeah, so obviously since the final roster was announced on Tuesday, not the final roster, just the first draft of it, I suppose. There have been 3 changes already. Javarius Owens being cut yesterday for Anthony Johnson Jr. Deontay Johnson being placed on IR and replaced by Curtis Bolton, and then Austin Schlottman, like we spoke about earlier, obviously being placed on IR due to a broken leg, being replaced by fullback Jakob Johnson or Jacob Johnson. I feel like it should be Jakob. Let's go with that.
He's German.
Yeah, it looks like
So it's Jakob.
Yeah, it must be. He's obviously been elevated from the practice squad. Johnson was waived by the Packers and was a 7th-round pick out of Iowa State in the 2023 NFL Draft. He played in 12 games for Green Bay last season, starting 4. He also appeared in 2 postseason games. He finished with 24 tackles, 18 of them solo, 3 passes defended, and 1 interception. So a little bit of experience let go there, maybe. And then Curtis Bolton was released by Miami during camp after an impressive preseason, in which he was the number 1 rated player on the Dolphins defense, according to PFF. He had a 91.8 PFF grade across the preseason. So, his PFF grades look pretty good. So I'm slightly sort of optimistic about him. He's mainly a special teamer. He's only taken 16 snaps on defense in his career, and he was undrafted in 2019. So he's definitely going to be a special teamer. But he's spent time in Green Bay, Houston, Indianapolis, San Francisco, Detroit, and Las Vegas, as well as Miami, after coming out of Oklahoma undrafted in 2019. So it could be a sneaky good pickup there. So as it stands, 53-man roster looks like this. We have 3 quarterbacks. Don't need to read the names out. We all know who they are. We have 3 running backs: Devin Singletary, Tyron Tracy, and Eric Gray. Tight ends, we have 4. Daniel Bellinger, Theo Johnson, who's taken the number 84. I'm sure you'd be glad to know that, Shane. Hallelujah. No more 47. Chris Manhertz. He sounds German also. And Jakob Johnson. Is it Jakob Johnson then, if it's German, maybe? 6 wide receivers. Neighbours, Slayton, Wandale, Hyatt, Bryce Ford-Wheaton, which I'm quite glad he made the roster because he looked pretty good during camp, and he looked really good in camp last year as well. He's taken the number 88. And then obviously Gunnar Olszewski, predominantly special teamer, kick return, punt return, but is also there as a receiver as well. We've got 9 offensive linemen in total. Thomas, John Runyon, JMS, Greg Van Roten, Jermaine Illuminor, Josh Izudu, Aaron Stinney, Evan Neal, and Jake Kubas. Well done, Jake Kubas. It's a great achievement. 5 on the defensive line: Mr. Dexter Lawrence, Rakeem Nunez-Roches, aka Nacho, Jordan Riley, DJ Davidson, and another rookie in Elijah Chapman. Well done, Elijah Chapman, for making that roster. Played himself into that spot 100%. 5 edge rushers: Brian Burns, Kayvon Thibodeau, Azeez Ojulari, Boogie Basham, and Benson Whitley. 6 linebackers: Akereke, Micah McFadden, Isaiah Simmons, Darius Musal, Carter Coughlin, and Curtis Bolton, as I just mentioned. 5 cornerbacks: Deontay Banks, Nick McLeod, Drew Phillips, Cordell Flott, Trey Hawkins. 4 safeties: Pinnock, Nubin, Belton, and Anthony Johnson. And then the 3 on special teams: Gano, Gill, and Kreiter. So there's the 53. And breathe. Kev, you're on mute.
Sorry, if there's anyone that listening or watching out there, like who can, who has my predicted 53 there, can tell me how badly I've done. I'd be very interested to see if I was close to that 53-man roster or not.
I mean, I'm sure it wasn't that bad, right? Can't be.
I think it was pretty close, like, and a few of the IRs threw me, obviously.
Yeah, there are unforeseen circumstances. You can never predict them, can you? And then after all of that, we obviously named the captains for the season as voted by the prayers as voted for by the players. The last couple of years we've had 10. Why? And this year we've cut that number in half, and we've now got 5, which is
Interesting.
It's a better number.
Interesting enough, 5 of the other 5 players that were named captains last year are not on the team anymore. Leonard Williams was one. Darren Waller was one. And there are 3 others that I can't think
Adori
off the
was
top of
one,
my
wasn't
head.
he?
Adori was one. Yep. And yeah, there's 2 more that I literally cannot
Gano
fathom.
was one. Graham Gano was one, wasn't he? Maybe.
He might have been. I mean, say off the roster, he barely played last year, but by the end of the year, wasn't on the permanent roster. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, but 10 captains was far too many. We've got 5 now. DJ, Andrew Thomas on offense, on defense, Dexter Lawrence, Bobby Okereke, and special teams, friend of the pod, Casey Kreiter. What a mate. And then finally, what was in the news that was released last night, Malik Neighbours. Well, for all those that went out and bought the Malik Neighbours number 9 jersey, bad luck. They unretired the number 1 jersey just for him, which is a wow moment. It was retired in 1935, so 90 years ago, and it was the first ever retired jersey in professional sports. Belonging to Hall of Famer Ray Flaherty, but yeah, it's been retired for 90 years, and now it's come back out, and Malik Neighbours has got it, so he must be something special for them to do that. I mean, obviously his 100th season, maybe it's kind of linked in with that, and they've allowed it to do it for that reason. But Flaherty played for the Giants for 6 seasons back in the 30s, and scored 15 receiving touchdowns, which may not seem like a lot now, but obviously back in the 30s, football was completely different. He's been a Hall of Famer since the mid 70s, I believe, and he led the league in receptions, receiving yards, and touchdowns in 1932, and won the NFL championship in 1934. So yeah, what an honor for Malik Neighbours that is, and the number 1 looks good on him, right?
It does. Let's just remember that it's not actually the Giants who have allowed this number to become unretired. It's the Flaherty family who have given Malik Neighbours their blessing.
Yeah.
And they didn't actually give him their official blessing until just before it was announced, pretty much, from what I understand.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of people who are upset about it on Twitter, but there's only so many numbers that you can have retired. We seem to have half of our jersey numbers retired, so it's going to have to happen at some point. And at the end of the day, it's not Neighbours doing anything negative against the legacy of Flaherty. If anything, apparently Neighbours has been, very receptive of the fact that he wants to be responsible, and he wants to be, he wants to honour the legacy, and it will bring players like Flaherty, who no one is going to know pretty much unless you're of an older age. It brings them to the forefront. He died in 1994, I think I read. I was 6. I'm not going to know who he is, but now I can look him up, and I now know more about him because of Neighbours,
exactly,
because his family have allowed it. Exactly
that. It's a massive. It's a massive thing for the Flaherty family. It's a massive thing for Malik Neighbours. I was really surprised when it was announced, but at the same time, I loved it, and straight away I'm like, right, let's have a look at Ray Flaherty, shall we? And let's actually see what he done for them to retire that number. I thought it was a really cool move by their family. Everybody needs good neighbours.
Yeah, definitely.
How many times are we going to hear that this season?
Yeah, loads, absolutely loads. No, it was a really nice touch, and I think 100 years had something to do with that as well. I mean, obviously the Giants had was it the 1, 4, 7, 10, 11 all retired? So there's a lot of numbers getting retired, but we've had good players over the years. But I think sort of at this particular moment in time, we have such a good talent like Malik Neighbours, number 1 round 1 draft pick. We all have such high hopes for him that he can be a superstar deemed worthy of wearing a number one jersey, and for the family to okay this, and for John Mara to even like allow the family to be asked for this to happen. I mean, it shows great progressive thinking again. Like the Giants, everyone complains that we say we're too stuffy and set in their ways, and we do everything in the dark ages, but John Mara's shown recently that he is progressive, and he wants to take the Giants into the 21st century, move the team forward, and it's just a really nice touch. And I think Neighbours, again, I may have misjudged his character a little bit leading up in the draft process, but he's handled himself with such class and everything that he's done so far that I think it does make sense for everyone involved.
Can we just address the elephant in the room as well? Like, let's be honest. So, Neighbours is wearing number 1 for the 100th year. But let's be honest, it's probably going to be for 1 year, because when DJ's gone in 12 months' time, Malik takes number 8.
See, I thought the elephant in the room and the biggest question was, is Shane buying Malik Neighbours 1 or Johnson? I thought that was the elephant in the room.
Well, just think as well that the jersey seals, your star wide receiver picked in the first round, wearing number 1, it looks for so clean. Year. Those jersey seals are going to be huge.
But in regards to the jersey, it doesn't help the NFL coming up with this stupid number rule. Because if this stupid number rule didn't exist, we wouldn't have had to go, what numbers his name is going to wear. We need to retire some numbers and all that stuff. And he could have just wore something in the teens or something in the 80s, like he should. They don't get me wrong, number 1 looks sick on him. I will say, wide receivers and DBs, single digits, does look sick. I will admit it. Don't mean I like it.
They've got the physique to pull it off. You wouldn't want to see like a number 1 and a big 340-pound nose tackle, because that's a lot of jersey and a small number to cover it.
Are you going to tell Dex that he can't pull off number 1?
Dex can pull off 0 if he wanted it. The big guy, big sexy bastard.
Nobody can pull off 0.
That's a big 0.
It would be an O. It would be go from a 0 to an O. It's stretched. Oh damn! Here comes Dex.
Incidentally, we now have 13 retired numbers instead of 14.
Okay.
Which, out of 99, or I suppose you can't really count it technically, but there is 100 numbered jerseys because 0 is not a number. But yeah, out of 100, we have 13 retired. So there's only 87 to choose from. When you've got a 53-man roster, it's like, okay.
And yet the players still seem to struggle. Like, how difficult can it be? This is what's available.
Just pick one.
What do you want?
Just pick one.
Yeah, it's not difficult. You can run all these complex routes and learn these complicated playbook. Just pick a bloody number.
Exactly that. Exactly.
All right, number, please.
Yeah. Don't even get me started. Number 4 was I don't know that one.
Yes, it was.
Number 4 was retired twice.
Well, let's hope. Wait, if Neighbours can have the career that we all wish he would have, one might be retired twice.
Yeah, next year when he takes number 8, I'm telling you, calling it now.
Can you leave your Daniel Jones slander at home for one episode?
It's just a conspiracy theory I've got.
No DJ slander. Yeah, Tim Wood's comment. Dex could have 3 numbers. You have 999 because that's the number they're going to call every time. Or 911, I suppose it would be, because he's just going to batter them every time. There you go. Yeah, anyway, numbers. We could go on about numbers all evening, but we're not going. One word answer then from all 3 of you. Kev, who's the biggest surprise that didn't make the roster?
No one really. Honestly, no one. I thought they might have kept one of Boykin or Hudgens as wide receiver. I'm really glad they went with Bryce Ford Wheaton, to be honest. But to be honest, when you look at it, no one really stands out like a sore thumb that you thought really should have made the roster.
Cool. Shane?
I'll go with Alex Johnson.
Great.
Reading the list right now.
Reading
the list. No, nobody that was kind of cut, let's put it that way. Based on play, Timon Fox.
Yeah. I thought he would make the roster as well. One name I was surprised by though. I just assumed he would make the roster. Lawrence Cager, just because he's always seemed to be there. But he's not anymore. There we go.
If anything,
alrighty.
before we move on, sorry. If anything,
Um,
how surprised are you that we only went for one waiver claim and didn't go after one of these sort of high name cornerbacks that we were talking about in our group chat all week?
What you mean the Panthers who
Right.
took 74 cornerbacks on waivers?
Yeah, they just went crazy for corners, didn't they? But I mean, they obviously trust in the corners and the DBs that we've got. So we'll see. Come next week against Justin Jefferson.
Oh.
Joys. I mean, it's Sam Darnold under center, so you know it could be worse. It could be worse.
You could have
Alrighty then.
Center.
I
that was the setup for me. I genuinely couldn't resist there.
Like an underarm baseball pitch, that wasn't it?
Yeah, it's like
Bravo to that. I rate that. I rate that. To round out this week, we are looking at predictions. Now, for those that have seen our preseason mini series, some of these predictions may be a little bit familiar, but in total, we've got 12 predictions to each make. And again, for those watching, let us know your predictions too in each of the categories. Are we making notes of these predictions just to laugh at the end of the season?
Yeah, we should do.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah. Let's note them down so then we can have a laugh at the end of the season, see how bad they are. All right then. Let's get cracking. Shane, you're up first. Best player on offense is going to be Daniel Jones.
No, it's the obvious one. He's number one in your heart and number one in your eyes, and he's wearing number one.
Malik Neighbours. Alrighty. Who's up next? We've got. Let me just have a look. There we go. Kev.
Best player on offense this season for 2024's NFL season will be Daniel Stephen Jones III.
Wow.
No, this is live. They send like a protocol or anything. Like we're doing it properly now, Kev.
I just maybe it's something I'm trying to speak into existence. I'm trying to will to happen.
All right. So we've got one vote for Neighbours. We've got one vote for DJ. Craig?
I mean, it's already been said by my dad in the comments, so everyone needs good neighbours.
It's even Darren, by the way. Malik Neighbours for Craig. I mean, we don't have an offense. We don't have a decent offense without the guys in the trenches, right? Andrew Thomas, man, best player on offense. Gotta be. Alrighty, best player on defense. I'm up first for this one. There we go. Don't need to ask the big man in the middle, Dexter Lawrence. Shane?
I'm going for the man that we spent draft capital on, we spent money on. Dan has got zero love for his number.
It's not a number. So it's one for Dex, one for Burns. Kev?
Gotta go. Big man Brian Burns.
And lastly, Craig?
Avon Thibodeau for me.
Oh, there we go.
I just feel like the other two will unlock Kayvon and he'll end up being the best player across the season.
Craig, you do know that, like, have you not learnt from me and Kev? You meant to hammer home your college team. Like, you meant to hold your college players. Like, FSU, you meant to taking him.
Oh, I've just realised I literally don't have him in anything.
Oh, Kev, we ain't taught him well at all, have we?
Not at all.
Shocking.
I'm still hurting from last weekend. All right, still hurting.
Why? What happened?
Oh,
it's enough of that. Holty says Nubin for me.
fair play, Holty.
Tyler
Decent
Newton,
shite.
best player on defense. I mean, he might be coming up on my list at some point. Surprise package then. Let's go with Craig.
I'm going with Tyrone Tracy. I just feel like he might be a little underrated and could even end up usurping the motor by the end of the season.
Oh, nice.
Ooh, Tyrone Tracy, nice, like that.
I think that one's for best player defense at the bottom there.
Bobby O. To be fair, I think he's going to have a great season as well. I think. My surprise package is Kev's best player on offense, Daniel Jones.
Yes.
Ooh.
Get the Daniel Jones bandwagon. Jump on with me.
I just think he's going to surprise people, and actually, I don't expect him to have like a 40 touchdown year or anything stupid like that, but I just think he's going to surprise people as long as he keeps the beard. There's a caveat. There we go.
Fear the beard.
Fear the beard, exactly. Shane's surprise package.
So there's two that I'm kind of torn on, but I'm going to go for Wandale. I feel like he's the one who's not being spoken about much with the wide receivers. Everyone's like, yeah, Malik Neighbours, number one overall pick, number one first round pick. Everyone's expecting like a bit of a breakout from Jalen Hyatt, and I think Wandale's kind of slipping under the radar. But if you've got the likes of Hyatt and Neighbours taking the defense deep, there's a lot of stuff's going to open underneath for Wandale, and we already seen that he's a bit of a yak guy.
Wandale. And last up, we've got Kev surprise package.
Just shout out Tim Wood as well, saying that DJ for comeback player of the year. I think that's a great shout. And I think, obviously, if he plays as well as I think he will and hope he will, I think he'd be a brilliant candidate for that. But my surprise package for this year, I'm going with rookie Andrew Phillips. I think he's going to see a lot of action. We're going to play a lot of nickel defense. And I think with our pass rush, opposing quarterbacks are going to try to get the ball out early, and he will get a pick or two or definitely break passes up. He'll be in and around the action, definitely. And I think I think he could have a good season.
Nice. I think we've all gone someone different for the surprise package, which is cool. Next one up is most touchdowns, like touchdown catches. Kev?
One for you, Sheeny boy. I'm going the red zone threat and dynamic pass catching tight end Theo Johnson.
Theo Johnson to catch the most touchdowns. Interesting.
I love
Craig?
that. Kev, you've just filled me up.
Who did you say next? Sorry, Dan.
You.
Oh, me. I've gone for Mr. Penn State Theo Johnson.
Hey!
Yes.
Interesting. Theo Johnson, eh? I'm up next. Most touchdowns caught. And I've gone for our new number 84, Theo Johnson. Nobody saw that coming, did they? Shane, is it a full house?
I'm the Penn State guy, and I feel like I'm letting him down now. Like, I need to get my cap and walk off. This is most touchdowns caught. Yeah, just want to make sure. Yeah. I've got to stick with my first answer, Malik Neighbours. There's a reason I've got him for offensive rookie of the year, because I think he's going to be the best player on offense. He's going to have the most touchdowns as well. I love you boys all for the Penn State love. I will. Love that. You've all made my day.
You're welcome. No, I mean, for me, it was a toss-up between Neighbours and Johnson. I think, Johnson in the red zone could be really, really dangerous. Most passes caught then. All right, so Shane, you're up first. Who's going to catch the most passes?
I keep repeating the same people. I'm going to go for Wandale.
Wandale most catches, nice. Kev?
Just shout out to the comments as well. November Whiskey there from Twitter. I said it's all about, everyone's talking about the Theo Johnson, but Daniel Bellinger will have 40 catches and 5 touchdowns. Now, if all the attention is on Johnson, I would love Bellinger. We've seen Bellinger have a very good rookie season and sort of was overshadowed by Darren Waller last year a little bit. So, like, I could see Bellinger come out and actually play well. I mean, he hasn't been targeted that enough in preseason, but who's to say that he won't actually go out, and be a sneaky sort of like catch number of catches threat. But for this particular category, I just think they're going to target Malik Neighbors. I just think he will have the most catches. When you have someone that dynamic in your offense, you've got to feed him the ball.
Yeah, Craig.
The man who led the Giants last year in receptions with 60, Wan'Dale Robinson.
Wan'Dale, nice. I've gone for Neighbours. Just think it's the same as you, Kev. He'll be targeted and he'll make those catches, contested catches, and 2 and 2, like that. Lead rushing yards. Who's going to lead the team in rushing yards? It's me first, isn't it? Yeah. I mean, I was tempted to go Daniel Jones.
Oh.
But I'm not going to. I'm going to go for Devin Singletary. Shane, most rushing yards?
I'm going to go for the player who I was debating going for surprise package, and that is Eric Gray.
Ooh. Nice.
Very good shout.
Kev?
I think. Well, I'm going for Motor because I think he'll be trusted to tote the rock early. But I love the idea. I think Craig mentioned earlier about Tyrone Tracy picking up the slack in the second half of the season. So I think you might see. I think there'll be 1,000 yards, but maybe between those two backs. But I think in the end, Motor will just pip it because he'll get more of the carries earlier in the season.
Nice. And Craig?
Yeah, exactly the same reasoning as Kev there. I've gone for Motor, and that's just because of how much he carries it towards, at the beginning of the season. I think it will probably Tracy could run him close, but I just feel like the early games are really going to set the tone there.
Yeah, I think he's going to be that lead back to start with, isn't he? And I think he'll get the yards. Most tackles then. Craig, back to you.
I've gone for Jason Pinnock. I did think about going for one of the linebackers. I just think, McKinney was second in both assisted and solo tackles. I just feel like Pinnock could, step up.
Nice. I like that, actually. I like that selection, Jason Pinnock. Me next, Bobby O. Got to be. Led the tackles last year. Hopefully, he plays every snap of the on defense this year. Let's go with Bobby O. Shane?
Yeah, Bobby O as well. Think he set the standard last year. I just think he's probably going to eclipse that this year as well, to be honest with you.
Nice. And lastly, Kev?
Well, I've got to go you boys and Holty, don't I, with old Bobby O. Just a tackling machine, such a good player. What an amazing addition to this defense. I'm so glad we got it signed up.
Winner. Alrighty. Most sacks. Oh, this is a tough one, isn't it? Most sacks. I think Kev, you're up first.
I think he's got the potential to be one of the best pass rushers in the league, and I'm going with pew 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 Spider.
Brian Burns for Kev then. Nice. Craig?
I'm sticking with my best player on defense because in order to do that, he's going to have the most sacks. So Kayvon Thibodeau.
Who did not go to Florida State, by the way.
No, he didn't.
Couldn't get any further from Florida State, I think.
Literally complete opposite end of the country. I've also gone for Kayvon Thibodeau as well, most sacks.
Nice.
Burns, my line of thinking is the same as Craig. If I'm naming him best player on defense, he's going to have to ball out, and that's going to be getting the most sacks.
Nice. Steve's gone for Kayvon for most sacks. It is a tough one to call. I think it could be close between him and Burns. And obviously Dex is going to be in there in the mix as well.
If it was
You
most
never know.
hurries, I'd be saying Dex.
Yeah. Most hurries, most everything Dex, but yeah, apart from sacks, I think it's going to be Tibbs or Burns for sure. Interceptions then. Here we go. Let's go, Shane. You're up.
What?
Oh God, Tyler Newby.
Shane's having a meltdown, ladies and gents.
Is he okay?
Tyler Newby for most interceptions.
He's gone very red.
I like that.
Has he just
I like
come
that.
off the sunbed?
I think he's seen something he thinks is quite funny. Kev, you're up next. Most interceptions.
Yeah, got to go with ball hook and best safety in this past draft, Tyler Newman.
Love it. Craig.
I've gone for a weird one. I've gone for Drew Phillips.
Nice. Along the lines I was thinking earlier.
Most interceptions, same as you guys. Tyler Newby.
Ooh.
I think it's gonna, yeah. Thanks. Sorry,
Does Alexa got a different opinion?
maybe she's not said anything, so play quiet. Quiet. If Newman gets the snaps, he has great anticipation and hands equals INTs, and Holt's gone for Newman as well. Love that. Tim Wood's gone for Pinnock. Most interceptions, Pinnock. That'd be impressive if he does. Holt said, I think DJ will throw more than our defense will get. Stop it. No DJ slander.
Oh, God,
Not on this show.
exactly.
What we got up next? Highest graded giant. First. Highest graded giant. Andrew Thomas. Shane?
Sexy Dexy.
AT, Sexy Dexy. Kev?
AT, baby!
Yeah. And Shane? No, Craig, sorry.
Right.
He's got tears in his eyes.
I've got the eyes stinging for some reason. I've gone for Dexter Lawrence as well.
Oh, split between Thomas and Dexter Lawrence. Like that. I think they'll both be up there, won't they? Let's face it. Now here's the big one. This is the big one. We don't care about team record. This is the big one.
Good.
Daniel Jones, number of touchdowns. Producer Craig, you're up first.
23, he just misses out on his all-time.
23. Ooh.
24 is his highest in a season so far, in his rookie year, I think.
I've gone with 22. I thought he would just miss out on his
just undercutting me.
Yeah, I thought he would just miss out on his all-time high as well. Shane, is it going to be more than his interceptions?
God.
Is it going to be double figures, Shane? Is it?
Is this passing or rushing or combined? Like what?
Combined.
Passing. Or combined.
Oh, which one?
I went passing, but I mean combined. Same. I'm only gonna add 2, so 25.
Oh man, I'm gonna go 4.
More than 4, hopefully.
I'm gonna go 4. 16.
And that's you being optimistic, isn't it?
Very.
You said that through gritted teeth. NW says, my lucky number's 28, so wishing that into existence. I think we all are. That'd be nice, 28. Tim Wood says, 1 passing, 22 rushing. Nice. And Craig, you're last? No, Kev, you're last. Sorry.
Oh, yeah. I'm going with Daniel Jones being healthy for all 17 games. Going to be a best player on offense, and he will pass and rush for 32 touchdowns. Yeah, I'm calling it.
32 combined touchdowns.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Who's
I
out?
mean, if he 32 combined touchdowns, he's definitely going to be back next year in that case.
Yep,
Yeah,
and Shane's
Kev
going
has
to
been-
love it.
Kev's been on the sauce all the year.
Yeah, is he going to throw more touchdowns than interceptions? There's a question.
Yes.
I hope so. And W, I want what Kev's drinking. Kev, what are you drinking?
Vodka.
Water. Just your water, lads. Staying hydrated.
Nice, like it. And here we go. Last one then. Team overall record, and it is Kev up first.
Well, Daniel Jones is going to play so well. I'm going for 17, 9 and 8. Sneaking into the
I've genuinely-
playoffs. Wild card.
I
Thank you.
genuinely thought you were going to say 17 and 0 then. I was going to say, what sauce are you on?
But I think we'll score. I think we'll get into some shootouts and we'll lose some close games like 35-32 and things like that. I think so Daniel Jones will throw some winning touchdowns, but also junk time touchdowns. 9 and 8.
Garbage time.
Just do it. That's
Nice.
the one.
9 and 8. Craig?
7 and 10. 7 and 10. So an improvement, but I just feel like we're not there. We're not there. I'd love to say a winning record. I'd love to say like we'd split an 8 and 9, 9 and 8, but 7 and 10 for me. I think Bill's got a really good point there. I'm just going to bring that up. I feel better on the close games with Gano back. That's a great point. Definitely
Yeah.
agree with that.
Mr. Automatic, unless it's a week one against the Cowboys and you're injured.
I'm blaming, that on
who's
Shane.
up next?
I'm blaming that on Shane going to the toilet, if I'm going to be totally honest.
Yeah. 100%.
I'm
Also,
not banned from going to the toilet during the Vikings game.
Yes.
Yeah.
And also, we all weren't
Hold
together.
it. Hold it, Shane. Hold it.
So I'll just keep one of these nearby. Bottle.
Yeah. Done.
I might get kicked out, but who cares?
Nah. Is it me up next? Yeah, it's me up next. I'm so torn between this because I so want to see a winning season, but at the same time, I agree with you, Craig, and I think we're not there yet. But fuck it, 10 and 7. Let's do it.
That's it. Jump on the bandwagon. Let's do this. Me and you, Dan.
Be optimistic. Fuck it, 10 and 7. Shane,
You've done this
Do
on
we ask?
purpose, putting Shane last. You've done it on purpose.
I
Spoiler
have not.
alert.
This is the raw order that is on the sheet, Craig. Come on, it's not me.
Spoiler alert.
You.
I am not going to be optimistic. I am going to cheat.
3 and 14. 3 and 14. 3 and 14.
I'm not gonna pick a record. I don't like picking records before there's anything to go on. So I'm just gonna pick like a win range, which, spoiler alert, is also not going to be very high. I'm going to be completely honest with you. I'm going to go for anywhere between 4 and 6 wins.
All right.
Okay.
Interesting. Have we had any viewers send their records in, Craig?
5 and 12 from
Oh.
Holty.
Oh, it's got 5 and 12. Come
Choo
on, man.
choo! Steve,
Steve has said 8 and 9, just can't see a winning record this time.
wins.
Overall record 8 and 9. We surprised a few down the stretch again. Tim said we nearly won 9 last year with the worst team.
Go on,
Facts.
Tim. I like Tim.
Facts.
NW has gone for 6, 10 and 1, picking the all elusive
Stop it.
tie in there.
Stop.
Let's
Stop. We do not want to see any ties. Who wants to
God.
see a tie? Ties have no
We didn't-
place in this league.
We didn't even want to see overtime, and we were in the press box for the
Yeah.
Patriots game. And Kieran has said, I can't see anything beyond 7.
Wow. So optimistic then. King Carlos got me feeling optimistic, Shane.
At least one team's keeping me optimistic.
True. Very true.
Shane,
Alrighty.
what happens if this team's like crazy good?
I'm in a parallel universe or some crazy like that.
Bill. Go on, Bill. We like it. He'll be the optimistic one. 9-8. Love that.
It's a Bill.
Winning
I think
record,
somebody-
that's all we want.
I saw it on X that somebody turned around and said that was it screw DJ being comeback player of the year. If he makes the Pro Bowl this year, I'll streak around MetLife next season for the opener.
Someone bookmark that.
Oh, receipts were taken.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm not risking a bet like that.
No. Holty, I want to know why Dan has a Tony shirt hanging up and why he's renamed him Boss. What?
Because Tony is a boss.
What, this one right here? No, come on. Do you not know who that is, Holty? You must know who it is. Kev, you know who it is, right?
I think Holty knows who it is, but I think he's doing one of those things that's called, a joke.
I mean, I hope so. It's Kevin Boss, man. Come on. Fuck Kadarius Tony. He ain't even on the Chiefs now. Where is he? Working at McDonald's?
He's a bum on the street.
Enjoy, exactly. Any other comments?
We got
go?
a couple of questions from earlier. So, will we get a better
nice.
CB2, or do you believe in Shane? Shane,
Ooh.
go to Shane first.
No, we might get a different CB2, but I don't think it'll be a better CB2.
Okay.
Kev?
Yeah, I mean, I do think he's given himself financial flexibility with that Andrew Thomas. He didn't restructure the whole lot that he could have done. He restructured a few million. So we have about $11 million in cap space at the moment. You need 7 or 8 roughly to manage the team throughout the year. So I think if someone like a Patrick Peterson, for example, will come in for a $3 million deal, something like that, and the front office believe he can do a job, I think you might see some movement there. I think McLeod could do it at a pinch. Would you want to see him be a CB2 for the whole season? I'm not sure. I think he's a good utility player. Flott just hasn't shown enough to be an outside corner for me. So I think we might dip into the free agent market because obviously a decent one didn't shake free in waivers. So I think we might go into the free agent market.
I will be very surprised if we don't pick someone up. The depth just isn't there. So I'll be very, very surprised if we don't.
I don't think we will. I think we'll roll with it. I think give it till mid next week, and Nick McLeod will be CB2 for week 1.
Yeah, it doesn't
underrated, underappreciated Nick McLeod. I think he's done. I don't think he's a bona fide CB2, but I do think every time that he's come into the starting lineup over the past 2 seasons, he's given us more than what we've had, especially more than Trey Hawkins did.
He's never let us down, has he?
No.
He's never been a reason why we lost the game.
No.
Very
And
true.
then the last one, which is an interesting one. Genuine question: what's the point of retiring numbers when we have a Ring of Honor? Dan and Kev, this might be one more for you, the longer fans out of all 4 of us.
Kev?
I think I understand the question, and now that question makes sense. But when they first started retiring numbers, it was a one-off. It was a big thing. It was like, this doesn't happen. You have your number 1 to 11 jersey of people who go out on the pitch or go out in the field and play. And when you retired someone's number, it was like a one-off. And I think those type of things were meant to be one-offs. But then over the years, the game's played and players come along, and they're just as good as those players that number retired. So you believe that they deserve the same accolade. But again, it happens more and more often. So I understand the question now because it's happening so often. When it started, it was a big thing, and it wasn't meant to be the way it's gone now. So I do think on the retiring the number, showing the respect, but then maybe unretiring it after 5 or 10 years, maybe might be a good way to go in the future.
Yeah, and I think with the Ring of Honor, it's not just for players either. It's for coaches, it's for staff, and let's face it, Wellington Mara's in there. The whole Mara family are in there. Bob Tish is in there. Bill Parcells, Frank Gifford, Harry Carson, Lawrence Taylor, Phil Simms, Michael Strahan. I could go on for a long time. So if we were to, if it were just talking about players, if we were to retire the numbers of all the players that are in the Ring of Honor, we wouldn't have any numbers left. So, Ring of Honor is obviously you've played amazingly well for the Giants. You are a legend of sorts, but obviously the retirement of numbers obviously is a select few. And over the course of the last 50 years, how many numbers have we actually retired? 2. Phil Simms and Eli Manning. They're the only 2 that I can think of. Oh, and Lawrence Taylor as well, 56. And, Michael Strahan, 92. So four numbers over the course of the last 50 years that we retired, whereas there's been 30 additions to the Ring of Honor over the last so many years. So, yeah, that's probably why. I think the retirement of a number is a higher honor, if that makes sense. Even like Otie's in the Ring of Honor. Victor Cruz is in the Ring of Honor. I think, maybe. Well, there we go. It's a good question, though.
But maybe just to touch on the point I made as well, maybe if they retired the number for 10, 12, 15 years, then that way, say, for example, none of your peers would have wore that number. Like a next generation, that number would be available for. And then, so just an idea.
Maybe that's what they'll start doing, obviously, with the number 1. Like, after so many generations, they'll be like, right, we can make this number available again. Don't they? Bill, yeah, we'd have to go to a hexadecimal number for retired them all. Yeah, exactly. Very true. Good point. Alrighty. There we go. There's our predictions for the season. We have noted them down so we can have a laugh at them in the season. At some of them at the end of the season. I think there's some that are more guaranteed than others, but there's some interesting picks in there. So I'm looking forward to seeing the outcomes come the end of the season. But unfortunately, that is all we've got time for this evening. We will be back on Thursday next week, 8:30 usual time, as we preview the first game of the season against the Minnesota Vikings, which is 10 days away, ladies and gentlemen. A whole 10 days to wait, not too long now. So looking forward to that one. Anything to add before we go, guys?
Nah, just apologies for getting on late, but it was good to kind of get on. Looking forward to kind of a week on Sunday meeting up and that. Pre-season's done now. It's kind of real football starts counting now when the next time the Giants take to the field.
Yeah, definitely. Cannot wait. Just 2 quick things. If your name is Bruce, first name or last name, drop us a DM. I'll explain why then. Secondly, meet up in the box in Birmingham for the Vikings game. If you turn up in a Legacy jersey or a Century Red jersey, I will buy you a pint.
There's an incentive for you. I don't know if anyone's going to turn up in a Century Red jersey because I don't know if anyone can get hold of any. Can they, Craig?
No comment. I'll be banned.
Poke the bear.
I'll be banned. I'll be banned from Fanatics forever.
Good old Fanatics. There we go. Anything to add, Craig?
Yeah, sorry, you completely and utterly just train wrecked my thought. Then,
sorry.
Yeah, just again, just to reiterate, thank you to everybody who has participated or watched any of our preseason interview series. There's many more to come. There's a lot of UK ones coming between now and the middle of next week. And like I said, real big one tomorrow night. So make sure you tune in for that. And make sure you watch the ending because very, very generous giveaway potentially.
Exciting times. Yeah, it's a big one, and I'm looking forward to watching and listening to it. Yeah, I think I'm just absolutely buzzing for the season to get started. For Birmingham next week, I think it'll be a great night, even if it's James 11 days to write off the season. Stop that! Stop it! It's not going to be like last year. Season isn't going to be over even before it started. Yeah, it'll be. It's going to be great to be in Birmingham with you guys and some of our listeners, followers, and the full 10 yards guys as well to celebrate the kickoff weekend. I unfortunately won't be back next week here because I'll be on holiday. So enjoy, guys. Craig will be coming off the subs bench but to host. So I'm sure he will do a great job as usual. But yeah, don't forget.
Did you submit a form and give appropriate notice, Craig? Can we just get that confirmed? Because
I knew nothing about it. Nothing about it.
I mean, you can talk to the wife. There you go. But yeah, don't forget, obviously, next weekend, our week 1 meetup. Looking forward to it. If you can make it down, even just to come for a beer and then go home if you want to, it's up to you, or stay for the game. It'd be great to see as many people down as we can. I will be there, not quite straight off the plane, but nearest makes no difference. It's like I land at, I think it's like 11 o'clock next Saturday evening, and then I'll be there in Birmingham on the Sunday. So, yeah, it's a bit of dedication for you, a bit of dedication for the cause. Yeah, looking forward to it and looking forward to meeting up with you guys as well. Make sure you check out our socials for all the latest news, follow the links in the description. Give this episode a big thumbs up. And thanks to all for your interaction this evening. It's been greatly appreciated. And what's the name of the person? Where is it? Let me find it. Can I find it? Can't find it. Happy birthday, Arisha. There we go. My thanks as ever go to Shane, to Craig for joining me. To those watching and listening, we are signing off. Until next time, let's go Giants.